Hello. Well, this is another show of Beyond Clean with Dave, our new season. That is season 2. Now, if you've been with me before, you know that I'm the director of the Academy of Cleaning Excellence, and you also know there's 3 words I focus on each and every show: healthy, positive, and proactive. Now, today you can see I have another speaker with me. He was on our show last year. He's here in the studio with me now, all the way from Colorado. He's going to talk to us about the job duties for frontline and lead custodians in K through 12 schools. Now, as you can see, we have a number of books here. Michael has published 3 books, which he'll talk about here in a little bit. We're going to be talking about different parts of all of these books. Now, you know, it's great to have you here with me. Michael Ward, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dave.
So let's tell the audience a little bit about who Michael Ward is and why he's here and wrote books.
Well, I have a passion for custodians and custodial work. I've been in this business for 28 years. I've worked in 4 different school districts, and I just absolutely love this field. The books are actually, I wrote them to help custodians. It's my passion to make all of you custodians out there's jobs easier, especially in schools. I have a passion for schools.
Well, you know, I think the thing is we're both here to help people in the custodial industry. You know, I spent 30 plus years in the educational market myself, so I understand your passion for helping people in schools. Now, I think one of the things that we mentioned here in the opening is you wrote these books, and I look at these books, and there's a mop on each one of these. Well, maybe not this one, but there's mops on here. And when I first met you, who swings the mop?
Yeah. So
I have a real problem with mops. Now, anybody that's watched the show knows this.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about this.
well, you could actually like cut one and like put it on your head and no, I'm just kidding.
I could do that. Now, just as you got here.
No, it's just everybody associates custodians with mops, so it was more of a catchphrase than an actual. But people do still use them, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way you want to dice it up. But they have gotten better. You have to admit that.
Well, they have gotten better, and you know the thing is that's all the thing about education is knowing what to do and how to do it. So I had to get out of the way, folks, first, you know, before we can start the rest of the conversation. All right, so you're here today to talk about, and by the way, he's going to be back with us. We're going to talk about just one thing. We're going to talk about several. So we're cutting several different shows with me today. All right. So the first one here is about frontline and lead custodians. What's the difference? I mean, why 2 different names? What do they do?
Well, custodians by nature have 800 different names. You got head custodian, lead custodian, facility manager, building engineer. I mean, I can go on and on. But the biggest difference is your head or lead custodians, they take care of the functionality of making sure things are running, depending on what kind of site they're at. So elementary looks a lot different than middle school and high school. In your elementary sites, you've got a head custodian who does a little bit of cleaning in the morning, and then he takes care of lunch, he or she that is, and then kind of sets up the night for the night custodians. The night custodians are your key players to get that school ready for the next academic day.
So they're the ones that are actually doing all the hard labor.
Yeah, most of it, yes.
The hard work.
Yeah.
Lifting the trash bags, cleaning the toilets.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm looking at this right, whether it be day or night, because there's a lot of day cleaning going on now. Mm-hmm. All right. So the day-to-day in the trenches, that's our frontline worker.
Right.
All right. So then we have the lead or head custodian, as you call it.
Right.
They do a little bit of that. They usually came from frontline.
Right. So they understand it, which is a good thing. And what they do is what I call maintenance cleaning. For example, all of your head custodians are usually working in the lunchroom. That's not doing anything to get the school ready for the next school day, but it's a necessary thing that needs done. But when you clean the classrooms at night, you're getting that thing ready for the next day.
So in other words, like if there's events that happen, you know, the FHA comes in, or you know, there's a group that comes in, the lead custodian is the one taking care of setting that and tearing that down?
Sometimes it has to be done at night, like a basketball game or something like that. But sometimes it just depends. A lot of times in schools, they'll use that cafeteria for those events. I know when I was a head custodian, I used to rush to get lunch cleaned up so I could set up the tables or the chairs for the music program or whatever. So I know the night custodians love head custodians that are willing to try to help them out by getting some things set up for them.
Right, so that's the differences between the two. So now we're going to talk about the different categories that you've written in the books that both of these people share. And if I've read what I have and understand this well, there's a lot of communication that happens between the front line and the lead custodian. Oh, even though the lead custodian was there, things change.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you got to let your night people know what's going on. You need to be in tune with calendars and schedules and communicating with the office. You have people that rent schools, so you got to know all that stuff. And then your night people, they need to communicate, hey, there's a problem here, or we should be doing it this way. So it's a very important relationship that has to marry together.
So that's the thing we want to talk about today, folks, is those things. And I think one of the things that you talked about, and I love it because it's some things in my show. Yep. Thank you very much for putting those in. Yeah. It's about being productive and proactive versus reactive. Right. How do you look at it? I know how I do.
Well, it's always being one step ahead. So instead of waiting for the work to come to you, if you have a principal, for example, as a lead custodian, or even as a night custodian, that's constantly coming to you and saying, Dave, I need you to do this. Dave, you didn't do this. Then that's the red flag in your head. You say, I'm not organized, I'm not being proactive, I'm being reactive. So you got to fix those things. There are things that we can't control, but there's a whole lot that we can. And the importance is to understand what you can control. So you got to stay on top of things.
So that's where that frontline person that's getting those reactions needs to communicate back to the lead custodian, I've got an issue.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, first I got to recognize I have the issue first.
Right.
Dave can't fix that problem until I talk with my supervisor.
Absolutely.
Now the supervisor has to understand how to actually deal with those things because, not every supervisor knows that. I think one of the things that you talked about, and this is always something that happens in the cleaning industry, how long do I spend in the classroom?
Right. So how I look at it is being organized, number one, and then doing the same thing in the same order in every classroom. So I say even the slowest custodian can clean a room in about 12 minutes on average.
Okay.
There are people, like I can clean about 8 in an hour, but I'm a fast worker and I've been doing this for a long time. But everybody's different, but I think the very worst is 15 minutes, not worst, but the longest time is about 15 minutes. Now you're always going to have a classroom or two where the teachers are pigs, but the good news about the teachers that are pigs is they usually don't complain about anything. So that's the good thing about those folks. But you want to stick around that 12 to 15 minute range if at all possible, because if you start spending a half hour in a room, you're never going to get done.
Okay, so we have different qualities of service, depending on the needs and requirements of the facility, the environment, what's going on. Hey, if you're up north and it's this time of the year, you know what? Keeping the sidewalks safe is going to diminish some of the time I can clean the rooms. So, the trash and dash, we've all heard that term. I like that way you use that. So we're into efficiencies, and reducing steps. And I heard you say something that was kind of like, I don't know. I've heard custodians tell me I'm making an assembly line worker out of them. Mm-hmm. But repetition in doing a job and doing it well is important.
Sure. So me personally, I'm a big proponent of using a custodial cart, starting at one room of my area and working my way down the hallway. Some people go through and dump all the trash first, and then they go through and hooper scoop the big stuff, then they go clean the sinks. So they're making 3 and 4 and 5, sometimes 6 trips through the area. I'm not a big fan of that, but my biggest thing is not that I'm right, it's what works for you. And if you hear yourself saying, I don't have time, then maybe you need to think about doing it in a different way.
Well, and we need to look at that. And so I think you and I talked a little bit before, and I want to point this out. What is your feelings, since you're talking about this, about a backpack?
I think the backpacks and uprights are both fine. Backpacks, in my opinion, take more time. And it's not necessarily because of the vacuum. It really has nothing to do with the vacuum. Most schools in America, you have to keep the classroom door locked at all times.
What did you say?
The classroom doors need to be locked at all times.
Now, folks, you heard this, really?
Yep.
I mean, but how many people really do that?
Not enough.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think this is that point when you start talking about this, is which one trumps which. And security always trumps efficiency.
Absolutely. So if you're cleaning 25 rooms and you're using a backpack, you're not going to put a backpack on your back 25 different times. You're going to do all your vacuuming at the end. So that means you're locking and unlocking a door an additional 50 times. Because you already went through and dumped all the trash and done that stuff. So at least a minimum of another 50 times of locking and unlocking.
So this is where y'all can already see, folks, that we've kind of got a little difference going on, and you'll have this. So it's not whether the backpack is more efficient, it's is it efficient for the practices. So if I'm using a backpack, I probably don't want to take it on and off for every room.
Right.
I probably do want to, because it's a lot better for me to unlock and lock.
Right.
As you said, 50 times, because that's security.
Right.
But don't give up security just for efficiency.
Right.
So think about what you're using is what we're saying, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have to know what I'm doing. I have to know where I'm going. What about goals? I mean, we have to know what I'm going to achieve.
Well, your goal should always be to have the clean, safe learning environment for the students naturally. A lot of times your supervisors or your principals might do an inspection of the building. So that's where I start building my goals if I'm taking over as a head custodian. And then I will get together with my night folks and say, look, we're really struggling on restrooms. Let's work together to fix this. We scored a 5 out of 10. What do we got to do to get to an 8? And then work together to build those goals. It could be that you take over a building that hasn't been taken care of. So what's a 5-year plan of getting the old yellow floor finish off the floors and getting that nice, clear, clean look and starting from fresh? So that would require a 5-year stripping plan. Painting, same thing. Some custodians get involved with painting, some don't. But you can't paint the whole school in one summer unless it's a 2 or 3 classroom school. So you're going to have to break those things out in a 3 to 5 year plan.
So what we're talking about, we're just kind of going over these in generalities, folks. What you're going to be able to do is look and go to a video on each one of these items separately. Now, there's also things as far as, and I don't know that you've seen this, you probably have. When am I going to take a break? And does everybody take their breaks all at the same time?
You're talking about like the fall breaks, winter breaks, and
yeah. Well, I mean, we don't always do it by a calendar. Everybody is a little different, but we still have, and like summer cleaning now is getting shorter and shorter.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. So no, it's not the same. And in fact, in Colorado, most school districts have a fall break. In Ohio, they don't have fall break. So there are differences. In our own school district, we actually have different times for a couple of the schools that are in this special plan that they don't take their breaks at the same time as the other schools. So,
but are we trying to do the same things during any
Oh yeah,
breaks?
absolutely. So you need to prioritize depending on the break. Summer cleaning looks a lot different than a fall break or a winter break cleaning. You just have 5 to 10 days during spring break, fall break, and winter break, whereas summer you got that 8 to 11 weeks depending on the school district. And that looks a lot different. So in the summertime, it's real important to get those classrooms done right away, because we all know teachers come back even though they're not supposed to, and they want to set our rooms back up.
Now, before Mike gets out of here, I want him to explain just a little bit about each one of his books, where you can get them, and what we're doing in the future. Mike.
Well, you go to whoswingsyourmop.com. Who Swings Your Mop's like the Dr. Phil book for custodians to help them be successful. The Ultimate Procedural Handbook tells you how to clean a school, and then the last one's how to do it safely.
So you can see the books, you can go and get those. Mike and the MOP series is going to collaborate with the Academy of Cleaning Excellence. Coming sometime later this year, we will be putting all of our joint information together on an online campus for K through 12 schools. So I wanted to let you know, folks, that we're having a number of different classes here at the Academy of Cleaning Excellence. You can go to academyofcleaning.com. You can find our live hands-on classes and our online campus. Now, you choose the location you want, what type of class that you're looking for, and how you want to take it. Now, we've got 5 campuses so far. We've got more that are coming. I want you to also go and check out my Facebook page, like and share that, and also, hey, by all means, beyondcleanwithdave.com, my favorite website. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave those for us under the video when you watch it. I want to say, Mike, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Dave. Good to see you.
That's all for our show today. So, as I've said many times before, keep changing your future. Keep those changes healthy, positive, and proactive. And remember my mantra, I am a janitor and I save lives. I guess you could probably say the same thing.
Yes, I could. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.